Hey, how about that?
Welcome, everybody. Week 3, here we are. We're back to talking about how do we get engaged and how can we make a difference. And so we're just going to stand by here a minute more or so and just see if we get any more folks to join. And this is a recorded meeting so that it can be rebroadcast for people that need it at a different time or place. I think one of the things that it's always important to know is that, it works for families differently. And every family has different needs, and many of these needs are driven by the children or adults that they care for. And so can't have a rigid something for ourselves and expect people to understand us in the flexibility that requires the diversity of care demands. So we'll go until 2:05 and then we'll start just to give it a couple more minutes here. Anybody else got anything they want to share on our group hug moment?
For a group hug. Well, you don't look like you're in Florida, that's for sure. I know are you in Canada?
I'm sitting at my kitchen table in my cottage in Canada, which is the most favorite place of me in the whole world. When I'm all said and done, this is where I go for my last canoe ride, and I'm experiencing a dream come true. I have dreamed of this moment for my whole life, and I'm here with my partner and my best friend, and I am just so happy.
That's
Show us the
cool.
lake real quick.
Yeah, I can see it in the corner and I see
Oh,
somebody.
it's pretty.
It looks nice.
Where is that?
He's in
It's
Canada.
125 miles north of Toronto in Ontario, just before you get to near Georgian Bay, which is like the 6th Great Lake. And as a boy, I spent every summer here. I'm a summer Canadian, and I get to come back finally after 30 years of being diverted by some full-time caregiving, and I've experienced a little bit of a lot less of that now. So I feel like I kind of get to reward myself for some hard work.
Great.
Yeah.
My ex-husband lived in Canada for a long time, and so we went up there. We rented a houseboat on the what's the name what's the name of the river that separates the border?
St. Lawrence River.
Yeah, Thousand Islands. We cruised around there. The St. Lawrence, yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And yeah, it's lovely.
So this is, I mean, I'm pushing 68 now, and it's time to have a little bit of time to get to breathe every once in a while. But many of you are not breathing, and I don't want to make anybody feel like, well, nice for you. But sometimes the harder you work, the luckier you get, and it's been a lot of hard work. And
The goal, man. That's what we're working for. We'll go to that lake one day.
dreams do come true. So it's 2:05. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm sure more people will be joining in as we go. So the idea is to first say welcome back to those that have been here, and welcome to anybody new joining today. Again, those that have been, please be sure to invite others to join us, because the thing that we really need to do is just engage the diversity of people that and their families that have developmental disabilities, so the face is seen as what it really is. I'd like to also say a special thanks to Alan and to the fine folks at ARC for your work, and I'd like to thank the Developmental Disabilities Council and all the work they've been doing. And the more we can spread the word and send the links and add it to your websites and send it to emails and encourage support coordinators, and Melissa's working on some initiatives to engage support coordinators and inviting their groups to be able to join on in too, because I can only imagine what it would look like if we had 40,000 of these individual flyers sitting around the Capitol. It would be really kind of hard to ignore us. And there's an important message here. What is constant through all of this is that, as we kind of reset or review or introduce, that the primary goal here is that families can be an incredibly powerful, truthful voice for individuals with disabilities, their families, for the providers, for our communities. And we need to speak up, because so many other parts of the system have been very challenged, compromised, diminished, demoralized. And we're still doing it. And we got to get up, keep telling. And I believe that at the end of the day, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. That those that, if you don't speak up, you'll definitely do without. And that we're at a time right now where the face of disabilities has to not be just seen as a number, but as Logan and Gavin and Shelby and Edna and Regina and anybody else out there, because that's where the changes have happened in developmental disabilities throughout history. People, the professionals have done great work, but they've had the door kicked open by families. And it takes the power of honesty. Families by far, and I mean families, I also mean individuals with disabilities, their families, their allies, the community. We have the freedom to speak the truth. We're not compromised by any outside entities or forces. We can tell the truth. Now, I can tell you the truth is never heard when you're screaming. If you're angry and just obnoxious, that's how you'll be labeled. If you can be engaged, informed, and provide leadership and guidance, whether you're waiting, whether you're being served, whether you're no longer doing it. Being able to educate, enlighten, and inspire our legislators is absolutely the cornerstone of being able to make this better. Because at the end of the day, Agency for Persons with Disabilities only is operating on the money that is allocated to them through the budgetary processes in the legislature and signed off by the governor. If it doesn't happen there, it doesn't happen every day. And so I've used this metaphor yesterday. I want to do it again. Imagine you have a family member that has really not a very keen understanding of how challenging your life as a caregiver or as an individual trying to live independently or through supports, how challenging that truly is. Yet that same individual is responsible for the budget to assist you. Now, don't you think it would be really important to make sure that family member understood your situation, and that maybe rather than being just mad that they don't get it, we can let's look at it this way. Our representatives, our senators are our family members, and our family is our legislative or senatorial districts. That's the family for that legislator. And we want to make sure they know who's in their family. And not only who they are, but how they can help. And many times, one of the first things that we can be is an honest face, a connection to the reality of the situation, not the noise of the politics and all that, but just, let me tell you about Logan. Let me tell you about Gavin. Let me introduce you to my kids. Let me show you why I'm here, why this is important, why I'm not only asking for your help, but I'm willing to be part of the help. And that one of the most important helps that I can be is to be a resource by teaching you the face of developmental disabilities in your own family, your district, and to be a conduit. There is a level of expertise on this call with folks that have worked in developmental disabilities for decades. And legislative language is being developed, and more of the politics and the legislative solution sides are not necessarily completely in our hands. But we will rely on those connections of folks like the DD Council, ARC, and others to work through some of the specific bill language, and Melissa and other folks that are working on those things right now. But the first thing you have to do to be heard is to get to the dinner table. Just be at the dining room table with your other family member where you can sit down and chat about this stuff. Because until it becomes a human thing, it's real easy to be dismissed. it's real easy to just be another handout. But if you can make this about, let me tell you about my son, let me tell you about my daughter, let me tell you about my life, that is a game changer. Now, I know that I can't be completely naive and say that just being Pollyanna and everything's going to be wonderful just because we feel the pain. We also have to show the force. And the force is in numbers, in volume, in consistently, in undeniable, in indisputable, because more people keep showing up, more flyers keep coming to them, more appointments get asked for, more information to help. And they become aware that it's not just one crazy mom or crazy dad raising help, but there's 10, there's 15, there's 20, there's 30, there's 50 people. There are employers here. There are organizations that employ 50, 100, 200 people in my area. And that I'm not really aware of it because I don't know anything about that. And the truth is, the vast majority of people that are in our legislative body are not intimately aware of the day-to-day reality of the developmental disabilities or intimately aware of the complexities of some of the challenges. But they will become much more aware that in their district, in their family, at their dining room table, meeting their office, meeting with their legislative aide, having their email, maybe even having their cell phone. Being able to become an ally in educating. I'm not here just to bust your butt. I'm here to educate, inform, enlighten, and connect. Here's folks that have already developed legislative language. Here's a position paper that really shows the importance of this issue. Here's the data that shows that this is not just me complaining, but this is me participating actively in government because we are the people. And this is supposed to be for the people. And the only way they'll understand is for us to educate them and be allies. So, what's been going on here is pretty darn exciting. We're just a few weeks into this project. People are starting to turn up, tune in, get excited, make an effort, reach out, have delivered content to Stephanie, who's turned into a 300-person staff of one and has been churning out some incredible examples. And so part of what we want to do today is kind of show some of the fruits of the labors to get us excited, to be able to see what some of the tools begin to look like. To also, some of us aren't as social media sophisticated as others. And so, Stephanie's also going to kind of give us a little walkthrough about, let's look at this website, look at these links, look at these resources, look at the things that are right now available to you that doesn't need to be emailed, doesn't need to be mailed, doesn't need to be happen. You can share it, you can post it, you can like it, you can comment on it. We can create a social media momentum by consistency in what we look like. And so you will also see this looks like a F-16 flyover at a stadium as far as that patriotic flying of the way. It's very patriotic looking. And that is by intent, because people with developmental disabilities and their families are citizens, are Florida, are as equal in their opportunities, and they need to be recognized, heard, but not just as complaining whiners that we need to throw a bone, but as important people in our communities. And it's important when families are linking with their legislators that they see not only are you or that individual just a person with disabilities, or you're a parent of a person with disabilities, you're also very skilled in other areas. And and one of the challenges has been the reality of trying to maintain a job, to pay my house, to have my income, to be able to find the balance. And particularly, there's a very profound lack of awareness of what complex medical and behavioral and developmental supports looks like. and how complex that can be and how individualized that can be and how rare it is to have the consistent quality care being able to be available and how absolutely essential and miraculous so many families have been in delivering complex medical, behavioral, and developmental supports. And we need folks to understand that has also had a profound impact on family structure, on the economics of families, on the impact on careers, on the impacts of home ownership, and on the impact in participating in our economy has been impacted. Yet these waivers are supposed to be an alternative to an institutional care. We are providing institutional care and many times better, and many times the institutional care, meaning organizations that provide in group homes and other settings, critical. But there needs to be understanding of this breadth and the scope of care and the options that are available and the intent and the purpose of these programs. If we only get caught up in complaining and disappointment and anger and hostility, nobody will hear. We have to educate them about the person, about how the program is intended to help, what are some of the alignments or corrections or refinements that can be done to uncompromise a program. Because we're looking at this started in part because of Melissa's grave concerns around Medicaid managed care pilot that's just passed and the impact on that. And I think it's important that we have a clear message of the intent and the purpose of the waivers are purely good. The impacts of underfunding have created the compromise within systems that are intended to help, but are forced and designed to have to say no. And until we can address that through honest language, but also remember, the waiver did not come to Florida as a favor. It came to Florida as a settlement for a lawsuit with federal contempt of court. I don't want to spend another decade or two in court because people have already done that and we need to keep pushing forward. So with that in mind, I'd love Stephanie to take over and show us some of the magic that you've been working on. And Melissa, at the end of, after we get done this part, then we want you to do a legislative update. We're going to leave about 15 minutes at the end for some open dialogue. And that's how today's kind of mapped out. Okay.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, so I am operating on very little sleep this week because we got such a wonderful response and, you know, kids didn't sleep. We went from, I think last week there was probably 7 forms turned in, and now last I checked, which was this morning, is over 100 people have participated, which is really, really exciting. And how I want to set the form up part, because I have noticed that like people get hung up on like the specific things. The form is a tool. The idea here is for you to take that tool, bring it to your legislator and incorporate that. And what this has been doing is building up what people are going to say when you go meet with a legislator, because you can get real frazzled in that moment. And so that's why I only asked, Tom, can you let people in? I only asked, you know, for just like a few short sentences so that when you get in front of the legislator, you're going to have a few short minutes and it's going to go by in a flash. So the form is designed to connect your legislator to your story, to give them an idea of what your life looks like, no matter what phase, stage, who you are, what you do, what the disability is, whatever you're going through. I want that on the form. And so I wanted to pull up, I'm going to try to work out this screen share business. You're going to see yourself for a second because I don't know any other way to do that. Do you see what I see? Nobody sees what I see?
Yeah, I see, I see,
You see
Facebook
things?
page.
Okay, good.
Facebook.
We're gonna go to the Facebook page because that's how I know how to, oh, that's like my actual Facebook. Okay, we're gonna do this one, which is our Facebook page where we communicate. And if you're not on the Facebook page, I would love for you to join and interact. And that way, you know, we only get an hour here. We could do that. So I picked out a couple examples this morning, and I
Can
wanted
you
to
get
show
rid of
you.
the sidebar and that kind of stuff and make that more full screen?
Yeah, I can try. Hang on. I'm gonna stop and then I'm gonna try again. Sorry, guys. I am not used to that. Not my regular life. Is that better?
It's coming.
Oh, it's incoming.
Says it's starting. There we go.
Does that feel
It's
good?
still- Yeah, it's better.
How about
Bigger.
that?
Okay.
There you go.
Very good. So what I envision us doing is using these stories in multiple ways. And yesterday I was supposed to meet with Pasadoma, and I'll get back to that in a minute. But I started thinking, how can I get this into the legislators' hands without the people coming to them with, you know, coming to the legislators with me and get them to like want to open it up. So I envision it kind of like, you know, those Shutterfly books, like a scrapbook, really, where we can put a little book together, like a yearbook of who we are. So this is Alex. Oh my God, I can't even tell you. I know they're going to fall in love with you people because it's been a week. It's been a week. It's a beautiful story. So this, I like what mom had to say here. Do you want me to read it, or how to roll this? I like what mom had to say, how she walked us through the phases and stages her son went through. He became aggressive and obsessive over me. I had black eyes. I had bruises. I was woken up in the middle of the night with Alex standing over me. I mean, that's a very present reality in my life, you know? And I don't exactly always think that I got to remember those are the things that used to happen on the regular. She did a really good job with that. And then she goes further. Like Alex wanted freedom as an adult too. Our people, they want to be adults. And that, I felt like that was a really good way to describe, you know, just go through her stories. She talks about the things that he loves. He loves his staff. Oh, wait, hold on.
I like that part. He says Alex wanted his freedom as an adult too, but with limited communication skills prevent him from expressing this way verbally. He moved into supported living.
Thank you. Yeah,
If the waiver had not been there, he would have been in ICF or an institution. This is an alternative to home for the home and community-based services. And for people to understand that and to understand how these interventions can also be cost effective and be more humanistic and provide a better quality for the individual. That's an important message. And for a mom to talk about that when seeing the value of that, while having been dragged out of her bed by her hair and then all the things that had happened to her, you got to get somebody's attention with that kind of story.
Yeah, she did such a wonderful job. So on the form, let me back up a step. I went right to the meat. So we're gonna say who our people are. This is Alex. Alex is adorable. I love him. He's like dressed up for Halloween here. And it says how old he is. Is he on the waiver? Is he on the wait list? Or is he just not even at that step in life? Does that not apply? Where does he live? What county is he in? Is he your constituent when you go speak to your legislators, which, by the way, they represent the entire state of Florida? But then the fun facts thing. So what I like about that is it's kind of an icebreaker. So when you get in front of your legislator, you bring Alex, gives them something. You could use that or you could not. But like Alex really loves karaoke. He's a big, I don't know Alex, so I'm gonna go with Garth Brooks. He's a Brooks guy. And that way gives a common point of conversation. A lot of the times when I've gone to talk to, oops, you see that still? legislators, I am emotional, you know, Tom mentioned nobody likes to make nice with an angry person. And I have learned the hard way that I got business to do when I speak with you, and you're not my therapist, you're not my friend. I need your help. And so it's important for me to like keep that in. And those things distract me to get to the point.
Not only do you need their help, they need your help. They
Right.
need your help understanding the face of disabilities, the you know, the money that they're responsible legislatively to identify and support these types of things if they understand it. And so can you show some other examples?
Yep, we're going next. And say, oh, rats. Okay, so Alex. And then this was really cool. So this was different. I wasn't expecting this. But someone, and I don't know who, and I'm not kidding, if you haven't heard from me, my inbox is full, which I'm excited about. But someone I don't know sent me some letters that people in their ADT, Allen Adult Day Training Center, that what they wrote about the people that work there. And that is really beautiful because it shows the value of what these people do and how they're not just here, you know, changing diapers or whatever that they do. I mean, they get out and they have so much fun and they do crafts, and it shows community living. So I love this. And then I did this whole like pun on the MasterCard thing, like priceless. Okay. And this one I super, super, super loved. This is a support coordinator. And it is a little long. I hope that she goes to her legislators because this is a wild, awesome story. She shows these 6 pictures that she took with a Polaroid camera that she bought to take pictures with the individuals. And she says in there, you know, I liked having the memories, but for the people that I took these pictures with, it meant a whole lot more to them. And then she talks about how she does additional things to make sure that these adults have experiences they wouldn't have without somebody to support them. And what I really liked was what she said at the end. Like, this girl, she knows how to write. It is our duty to inspire and encourage each individual to recognize their abilities and to become independent. The individuals are just that individual. The individuals are just that individuals with names. I might have to fix that. Personalities and feelings. They are not numbers on a list. They are not to be managed. Very powerful, and I liked that she used this very sweet moment to kind of engage because everybody responds to that. And then, oh, this is Levi. I happen to know Levi, and I know his mom. Oh, Victoria, you're on the call. Hey, your kid's famous. So what I really liked about Levi's story here, she's got 2. You know, that says something right there. She's an aging caregiver. Florida's #1 for our aging caregivers. That is a real thing, and it's not cool. It's not okay. And she describes how that has affected not only the boys, but also her. And then she goes on, and she's struggling right now with support coordination, getting their plans established. Collier County, we don't have any providers. Points that out. We need help with provider development. If we're going to be on the waiver, get these services, we got to figure that out. And then at the very end, she put in there, you know, hey, why don't you just go ahead and allow that APD budget waiver to go to the Social Services Estimating Conference. And that way that there's data to support the program needs. You know, and I really like that because instead of just saying fund the waiver, it gives them something more specific to do with that. And the estimating conference, I'm going to let somebody more experienced talk about that maybe at the end or another time. But it does way more than any sort of funding. And like, he's the cutest kid. Okay. So
Now, can I just comment on something about this?
You may.
One of these is very individualized. Each one of these is really kind of unique.
Mm-hmm.
Really It's not like these are all just cookie cutter things. First
Yeah,
and
everybody's
foremost,
got a unique story. We're all individuals, and that's what's being shown through this. It's so
but
cool. It's working.
it's also showing a tremendous amount of work graphically. So if any of you that have any
Oh
kind
yeah.
of graphic skill that can lend a hand, the 100 is going to turn into 1,000, and Stephanie's going to turn into a crazy woman. And so we need some help.
Yeah.
So if there's any folks that she can teach, train, off roll some of this stuff. It's we the people.
Yeah, I have been up every single night from the moment that I tuck the kids in to like wee early in the morning. Cause here, yeah, the idea was to get this ready for my appointment yesterday. And I wanted to make it as presentable as possible. The form, when you fill out the form, it just comes to me as data. And that way I knew that it had to be pretty, and I couldn't figure out how to do that, like fillable. So, that's what
How has
that
the
is.
reaction been from folks when you send it back?
Oh, shoot. Amazing. Like how cool is it to see your own life there? I mean, look at Laura. Oh gosh, I love these people. I don't know these people. I love these people. It's so wonderful to see you be heard. And I have a lot of parents that have wanted me to hear them, and I would love to do that. However, I only have so much time. But the people that I have talked to, man, they're dying to tell their story, and a lot of the families had trouble like grasping, what are we doing with this? And so there's a lot of explanation, like what the purpose is, because we did wing this thing. We kind of made this up on the go. But it's beautiful. I'm so glad that it's working. So this is Laura. And I love this one because this is a letter of support. And our legislators really need to see that this program works. And I love these people, man. The waiver program works and works well. Laura needs are met, and our family has stabilized in all aspects of health because of it. I mean, like, yeah, it works, those who are on it attest to it all the time. There's plenty of vets on here. I've got some on this call. Like
Yeah.
you all know. I learned the history from you. You lived it. And so then she goes, what doesn't work is that wait list. Florida should be caring and funding for a special needs citizen. It can and it can do it by allowing. And then she goes into the social service estimating conference, that way gives them a specific way to help. And then she also says we made it through the process because of personal support we had navigating the system. That's us. We're the personal supports, and that's how we all navigate. And I like that because I think she was talking to families and legislators. I like Laura's mom, or Laura. I don't know who filled that out. Darn it. Sorry. I need 4 screens to do the things that I do. And
Doing the work of about 40, so it's amazing. But I mean, just to me, while you're pulling up the next one, I think this is just so cool to have such a diversity of messages, of style, and what today is about is many of us, I got to see it before I got it. And hopefully today, this people like, you mean you can take what I write and turn it in? Wow. And then
yeah,
it comes back and you can now post it, you can send it, you can email it, you can attach it, you can print it out. You've got a lot of tools to use, and we've got organizations that are joining aboard that can be part of the dissemination of creating these voices and how those things get exposed and networked. And this is way more powerful than just a policy paper.
Yep.
This is what somebody goes, you mean that's in my family? Yeah, that's your family.
Yep.
That's for the family. Go ahead.
So the other thing that has come up is not everyone wants to say who they are, who their child is, for their own reasons. And I've had a couple anonymous things sent to me. And so what I did with that is shared the story and made it pretty. But this story is really, this should get you. I'm a mom of a duly diagnosed son with severe persistent mental illness. He has all of these diagnoses, and he's been placed in this facility, in group homes and supported living. And then the pandemic hit, and he ends up in jail. You know, like this is a desperate cry that she just delivers without the emotion. Just these are the things that happen. And then there is a desperate need for a long-term dual diagnosis facility. That is a thing. And I feel like this mom shared a very hard truth in a way that wasn't offensive or victim, you know, like that victim mentality. It was just, this is real. And that's what I really want parents to grasp. It's okay to say the hard truths. I was talking to someone earlier today. You can talk about the details. Like this morning, my son woke up and he's got this scar on his arm, and he's instead of PT, he's got something called a Dyna brace, where it like slowly stretches his ligaments. But the Dyna brace rubbed a little bit last week, and so I stopped doing it. Last week he hasn't had anything on, but that rub irritates him more than the pain of him digging his fingers until he's got an inch in his surgical scar, and he has no concept of hygiene or, hey, this hurts. Because really, for my son, the frustration of that itchy feeling from the rub is more important to him. And so it's things like that. That's personal to me. And that was like this morning. Things we don't even think about. And that's not relative to legislation, but sharing your story on the things that we walk through was maybe my point with that. So moving on. Oh, Patrick. Oh my goodness. Okay. So this Patrick, she sent in a couple photos, and I like that. I think as this goes, we can grow it a little bit more. I couldn't figure out how to do multiple ones with the first form that we tried, but the second one, people can send in whatever they send in. And so, but like, it just shows Patrick living his best life. And then this is a good one. As aging parents of a Down syndrome young man, we do wish there was more excellent group homes in the area. We have been blessed to be able to have our son live with us here, but there will be a time in our future where we will need to find for him, a place that offers a caring, safe environment for him to live. We hope that the legislators will continue to add funding to the agencies that make the lives of our wonderful kids better each day. Like, yep, that's true. That's absolutely true. He's an amazing kid, and they've been blessed by the waiver, but one day they're not going to be here. Patrick's 41, so mom and dad are getting there.
And that's a very, very emotionally complex situation for families that love their kids but see themselves aging and worry about their own. Yep. You know, what's going to happen after I'm not here, or if I can't do it, or if I need help. And so that was one of the thing is how could he remain in his home or remain in his community, and what are our options? And you know, it takes quality providers and quality support coordinators and quality consultants and quality-based community providers to have a system of care that can do that. But you know, it's saying that is so much different when you have something like this flyer.
Yeah. And again, my kids are 14 and I feel that way. He's 41. And for them to say it that eloquently and specifically, you know, we want him to have a safe environment. I forgot what the other part is, but like, I don't think like that. That was so wise. Okay. So this Jacqueline is in Sarasota. She's on the waiver. Oh my goodness. We are so blessed to be on the waiver where we are able to attend the Loveland Center campus 3 out of 5 days a week they operate. Thank you for supporting the Med Waiver program. We pray that you and your fellow legislators will continue to financially support and improve the help from your fellow Floridians in our disabled communities. Simple, exactly what needed to be said. Jacqueline looks like she has a heck of a good time at the Loveland Center. And then like her 3 fun facts, talk about that. Like she's acts, she's in plays, she's in performances. They do really amazing things at that Loveland Center, I hear. Okay, so Stephanie. Oh, Stephanie's mom. She looks like fun. So I'm a single mom raising an autistic daughter because of the supports from the CDC Plus waiver. We both have regained stability and our unalienable rights have been restored. With the CDC Plus program, I can hire people that Stephanie and I know and trust. Her support staff loves to take her out and participate in activities that she can enjoy with others. Stephanie's in the community. She's living the dream here. I cannot always take her with me. If she was left alone, she would be a safety risk because of her limited language. She's unable to talk on the phone in case of emergency. Because of her disability, she doesn't understand safety risks, things like candles or cooking on the stove. You know, what I've noticed when speaking to my extended family is they have no idea that is a very real and present reality for a lot of us. And just simply saying, you know, she can't be around candles alone, that speaks to everyone. And then she says, we don't want managed care. And the reason why, and she makes it personal to Stephanie. And okay, a reason why she makes it personal to her daughter. Stephanie's disability affects her ability to assess whether a person is appropriate. She is vulnerable to abuse and cannot speak to defend herself. We have limited provider services where we live, and the main town is far away. So continue to support the thing that's working for Stephanie. Thank you. You know, like, what a wonderful way to say that. Oh no, Stephanie. I don't know if that was it. Hang tight.
You know what? It also, those letters with
Yeah, that's it.
pictures humanize it. And also I like at the end of that one that the parent said that, you know, having that program has restored her mental health. That's important. You know, it's very stressful being a caregiver with somebody that has developmental disabilities, especially if you're talking about severe and involved behavioral issues. It's hard. It's hard to keep providers. It's very stressful. I do want to point out that Alan put a link in the chat box about that estimating conference, and it's a flyer. If you guys click on that, you can see it. I guess while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and like do that kind of quick legislative
Raise your screen up a
update.
little bit. Raise
Yep.
your camera up a little bit.
Raise-
have to
oh, is that
say,
better?
Much more attractive with all your head.
You're so pretty.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't like looking at that. Are you able to? Is that good, Matt?
Perfect.
There's a couple of things that I want to cover. First, I am meeting with Representative Chase Tremont next week. I'm going to drive over to the East Coast to do that. I also have an appointment set up with Senator Gruters. I have a couple of other ones that are in the works. I definitely want to be able to leave the representatives that I'm meeting with stacks of letters, or I know Stephanie, we were talking about like doing a book that you can get like on Shutterfly or something like that. Also, I do think that it's important that Taylor Hatch, who is the director of APD, that she's also included in receiving stuff like this. This humanizes it for these guys who do not have, you know, relatives with developmental disabilities that they are caring for on a regular basis, on a daily basis, or even a weekly or monthly basis. They don't have that kind of experience.
That also gives, like Director Hatch as an example, vehicles to be able to express concerns or issues that may be more politically difficult to be able to do herself, but by showing these examples to families. So it probably makes sense to begin to have somewhat of a distribution list of influencers and decision makers and folks that we start to share these things. Hey, just want to give you an update how the project's coming and share some more, just as kind of a, we're here.
Well, and something else that just recently happened, you guys, on Tuesday, there was a Hope Navigator conference in Orlando that I attended. And the Hope Navigator Pathway for Prosperity is something that the First Lady of, our state is pioneering. And it started a couple of years ago, and they partnered with DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice, DCF, and now they've announced partnering with APD. This is going to be different than the DJJ and DCF that they've been focusing on. And I think that it's going to be a good learning experience for them. But basically, the Hope Navigator, my understanding, is somebody that is supposed to help connect our folks with more. They're really trying to create a network within the state of Florida for people to be able to tap into community-based resources, private sector resources, faith-based organizations, trying to do that throughout the entire state of Florida.
Well, you mean
So
support coordination across systems for the person-centered support coordination instead of systems-based
So-
coordination? Is that what you mean?
So what this Hope Navigator is actually what a support coordinator was 30
That's what I'm
years
saying.
ago.
That's my point.
Yeah.
is that we
And
don't need to reinvent it. We need to remember.
but they're hired by that state agency. It's another government position that they've created, which, if that's how they're going to go about it, that's fine. I like the idea of us being able to connect more with more community resources. And I can give a little more information on that next time, because I'm still getting some additional stuff, but I spent a whole day there.
Well, listen,
I
one more point
also
to that. Go ahead, Alan.
I was gonna say, I also noticed on that, which kind of surprising, that they're doing private fundraising also, which is kind of interesting for the state to now do private fundraising, because, most of the providers are making up for the deficiencies in the waiver by doing private fundraising.
Yep.
So,
The state of Florida is fundraising for the state of Florida. Is that what you're saying?
yes.
We're kind of trying to privatize government
Uh-huh.
through fundraising. And so part of the issue is that if you just said that's terrible, it would just be noise. But if we said, well, the truth is that's a really good idea that already exists in a system that just needs to be fully utilized. And, if you talk to any support coordinators that have been around a couple of decades, they have a very different understanding of the philosophy. Now, most of them have been buried in paper, and it's become more of an administrative just processing than it has become connecting activities and inspiration and learning and educating. There's almost no time for that anymore. So I think we have to take some of the activities that are being done and turn them around. Great idea. Well, we've already got a whole system here that's capable of doing it. If the Hope person needs to be the new champion of support coordination, is that a bad idea?
What, Melissa, I'm curious what your thoughts are of these paid positions in the community to identify basically the supports that people will need. It just seems, I can't figure that one out.
Yeah,
Alan?
Go ahead. You were
No,
gonna say something.
that's what I've been having to do professionally, is really become an integrated, complex planning resource and help people navigate disconnected systems of support and integrate their families on top of that. That's what I do professionally. And a perfect example of one of the glaring holes right now is the coordination between ACA and APD for children on a Medicaid state plan. The support coordination will
You're
coordinate
so
APD,
funny, but we're gonna go over our heads.
they're not supporting the two programs. So that's the issue that's directly impacts APD, is just the coordination across two systems is a real challenge. So hopefully this doesn't diminish things, but creates a dialogue to bring some of those real issues to the table and come up with some solutions. support coordinators have been so burdened and complicated. They're not doing the jobs they were designed to be able to do because there's just not humanly possible anymore.
Well, I really liked what Melissa started with. That's going to be a really interesting lesson for them.
Well,
Like,
it's kind of the oldest trick in the book is to really throw the responsibility away from the state and into local communities and charities and neighbors and really that should be gleaned periodically. I mean, I don't think we should ever not explore that, but it's not going to totally take the place of federal and state services. So, I mean, I like the idea of applauding people like Ark Broward, which was brought to, and you know, the headlight, brought up onto the podium at Family Cafe and applauded for, you know, all they do for people with disabilities, but all they do with children, the Children's Council funding that they get, all the fundraising they do, and using them as an example of not just depending on the state, but doing a lot more. And I think they're encouraging that, but we also have to make sure the state is also taking responsibility for people who are vulnerable and live in like rural areas and things like that that don't have access to robust or urban services.
Will
So
the
maybe that
iBudget
would-
pay, will the iBudget pay for these positions? Where's the money going to come from? Is that where they're raising money for?
Positions, it's a position or positions that are within those particular governmental agencies. So the Hope Navigators, there's a particular number you can call. And if you're calling about somebody that's in the DJJ system, you get directed that way. Somebody in the DCF system, you get directed that way. Now they're partnering with APD. So the difference, though, you guys know, between, you know, DJJ, DCF, and APD is the folks with developmental disabilities are not going to age out. There's no cure. There's no getting better. There's no getting over this. There's no, the examples that they were given on Tuesday. It was a lot of, I heard a lot of single mom. We had to help the single mom, you know, get a job. We had to help a single mom get a place to live and get childcare. And now she's thriving and the kids are thriving and everybody's doing okay. That's very different than they're not going to just find something for our folks that is going to, you know, get them on their feet to where they're not going to need services. But the thing that I do like about it is that I think that if we can harness the power of the office of the First Lady to be able to help with pulling together different community resources and especially faith-based organizations. That's something that they were talking pretty heavily about, because I have a lot of families, and I asked a couple of questions publicly while I was there, but then I did speak with one of the speakers privately who had started a day program in Tallahassee at their church. And I was like, you know, this is something I would like to see like throughout Florida. Not that would replace our day programs that we currently have, but maybe just to help with desensitizing people and opening people up, because I have a lot of families that can't go to church because they've been kicked out of church. And that was something that speaker had said to me. She was like, you know, we've had people that have come to us that have been kicked out of like 4 and 5 churches. And, you know, because of the behavior of their son or daughter, or their relative that's in the service, and they're being too loud. I like, and I've already started to compose an email that I'll work on finish this weekend, but I am going to send it to all of those head people that are up at Hope Navigator, the ones that we're talking. Governor DeSantis actually has a man named Eric, his last name is escaping me right now, who is their,
Dellenbach.
thank you. He's their faith leader organizer within the governor's office. Well, he was there and he was talking. I'm going to include him on that as well, because they need to recognize that this is not just going to be, you know, we're going to greet you with open arms, but I think the start of it can happen with like the Night to Shine prom. So I'm sure that most of you guys know about that with Tim Tebow, and that they have opened up, you know, churches they've opened their churches up to accept folks to come in there to have a prom once a year. that's probably a good way for them to kind of segue into maybe those faith-based organizations providing some activities to our folks. But there's probably going to be some of them are going to be like, you know what, the once a year prom is enough for us. We're good there, but we'll have to see. But I already have like some stuff to be able to offer to them to help with educating them, because this is a different population than DCF and DJJ.
Well, the
Well,
other,
here's the problem. Those folks are GCF families too, and their Social Security families, and their Medicaid, and they might be Medicare, and they may be this. And the challenge is that we have expertise in silos, but we don't have expertise in a complex, behaviorally and medically complex and developmentally complex folks. And
Right.
so the hope is that you would actually have people that could look at all the pieces of the puzzle and integrate it together. So that's the message of hope that I would have, is that don't keep hopelessly referring me to yet another agency that's going to tell me it's not my job, but I will send you to another one, because that's where that's the difference. If we can bring it all together and say, oh, well, what about APD, about this, this, and this, and that? Because the truth is, when you lay it all on one agency, they freak out. When they have a piece of it, they might actually be able to collaborate.
well,
shouldn't be
the
on
other
one.
connection is the mental illness emphasis from the First Lady. So
Right.
those dual diagnosis cases that we heard about, and Stephanie, in one of those letters that you had, that's really something that she can get behind. In fact, she was really behind those mobile treatment response units that was in the governor's budget to try to keep people from being Baker acted, so they don't end up in crisis service units, et cetera. So that's, I think, another good way to leverage help from the governor's office and the First Lady.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
excellent.
all
Wow.
for it. I am. If they
Thank you,
want
Alan.
to help and they want to partner and they want to learn and they want to, support and assist, I'm down with that 100%. One thing that I did want to say on here, because I had a couple of folks that are on here that had asked about like managed care, and I've come up with a real quick way to kind of just explain that a little bit for anybody that is on the waiver, because I did explain it at the end of the last meeting to a couple of parents that were like, oh, okay, now I kind of get it. The whole managed care thing, I want you to think about like the support coordinator or the CDC consultant. We're basically paid advocates. We're the one service that you got to have on the waiver. We're the only service on the waiver that cannot give notice to somebody. You can fire us, but we can't put in notice with you, no matter how much time, how difficult, it doesn't matter, because we're supposed to be there to advocate for you, your loved one, your family. We're supposed to be there to support. It's supposed to be a long-term position, a long-term relationship that you form with that particular paid advocate, your support coordinator, your CDC consultant. Managed care is a insurance company, basically, that you would have an assigned caseworker at. You don't get to choose them. You get assigned to that person. We're also on call all the time. You have access to us all the time. You're not going to have access to that person all the time. A good example of a managed care situation that a lot of folks are already involved in that are on the waiver is the dental HMOs. Dental is still a service under the waiver, but it's only after we've gone through the dental HMOs and we can't, get something through them. It's DentaQuest, Liberty, or MCNA. Those are your three options in the state of Florida. That is managed care. They don't have a lot of providers. If you need surgery, if you need an oral surgeon, good luck trying to find one on those plans. So
real quick point.
One
Some
of
of
the
the-
families on their form wrote that. They talked about their son needing to be sedated and talked, and when she talked about managed care, that was really amazing too. So.
And then there was just recently that whole thing with the managed care companies and the children in the nursing homes, the medically fragile, developmentally disabled children that have wound up in nursing homes, that they just finally are coming to an end with that litigation, which has been, by the way,
the
over a
state of
decade.
Florida just appealed the litigation and they're back in court.
They want to stay, and the
They
federal
wanna
judge keeps
continue on
saying
that.
no.
But
Stop
I
Who
letting
is
wanna make a
they,
quick
the state
point.
of Florida? Like when you said, like I saw that, but who is that? That's saying, nope, let's fight that.
It's the attorneys that are on that case,
that
Okay.
represent
I don't
the
have the name
state
of
of
that.
ACA.
Florida.
That's ACA.
but they keep
So what
stalling
the
it.
important thing to point though, is some of the
Yeah.
folks are on the statewide Medicaid managed care currently and trying to get on the med waiver. One of the things that you can ask for if you are currently on the statewide Medicaid managed care waiver on the long-term care services side, get a report from them that says, how many hours did you actually receive? Which will also say, I was authorized 80 hours a week. We've been getting 40 hours a week, and that's what you get. And that there's a 45, 50% utilization rate. That is important data. So anybody on this call that's on that statewide Medicaid managed care waiver and is not being adequately served, get the report, because that's documented proof. And that's the kind of information that people need to see. Here's how Medicaid managed care, long-term care is currently working that I'm on, that I'm trying to get on APD from.
Right. And you guys, I have to bounce. I got to get off, but I did want to just say two things. The advocacy days, and I know that Alan Abramowitz just got off, but the ARC is doing that advocacy days in Orlando. It's on their website. Representative Allison Tant is going to be there, and she is a mom to a person that is on the waiver and only got on within like the last year. She has a son. And then there are delegation meetings that are coming up, and ARC also has those listed on their website as well. But if you guys can encourage, other people to, show up each week, we're going to keep meeting on Fridays. We're going to alternate 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 6 o'clock, to be able to accommodate people's, needs. But I need to get off because I'm actually training people this week. So
We can hang around a few
Hold
more
on, I
minutes.
gotta go too. I gotta go too. Titus has gotta get going, and I do want to talk to families about.
okay.
Well, I had a few things, but at least our meeting, we had about 4 families by Melissa that were set up to meet with Senator Pasadomo. She did have a family medical health emergency, so she had to reschedule for October. And kind of the beautiful thing here is we all understand that. We know what that's like. You got to drop, you got to roll. So even though I was like really, really excited, the response was absolutely whatever she needs to do. You just let me know when we need to reschedule her.
But you also met with her legislative aide earlier.
So wait, what?
Did you meet with the legislative aide earlier in the week?
No, I met with a representative, but I was just going to go on the Pasadomo thing because one of the reason why people were sending in forms, but I know that a lot of people didn't get the chance, the opportunity, and they're like, oh no, I missed the senator. We've got about another 3 weeks before we all go back there. And how incredible would it be to really have a book, 100 forms? That was impressive for a couple days. And I think if we just continue to tell our people, we're all kind of across the state. We have friends, we have family, let them know that how simple it is. We don't want anything but whatever you got to say. And
What you can do is you can direct them to the Facebook page, and they'll be able to see examples that go, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think that was the point, to get ideas. When I'm talking about the forms, a lot of people, a good portion of the responses were very specific, but there were a few like, hey, I want you to fund the waiver. I don't support managed care. And say whatever you want to say. However, what I've been doing is like, do you have a specific why? Like, is there a situation within your family that you can offer? Just tell us a little bit more about you. And I would like people to be more personable, because this is more about us getting to know our loved ones as people, and also showing your legislators that you're a resource. You know what you're talking about. You are the most qualified person to take care of your child, to know your child, and to explain, or, sister, cousin, self, whatever it is. You're intimately connected. They're not. So Pasadomo has been rescheduled now on Monday. I'm very excited about that, is our legislative delegation meeting here in Collier County. And every area has their own legislative delegation meeting. I went to my first legislative delegation meeting a year ago, and I was going through hell trying to get on my kids' services. My girlfriend told me the night before, hey, there's this government meeting where you can go there and you can tell them the things that's going on. And I had it like I went there, I was disheveled, I had nothing planned, and I just told them what I was going through. And I was angry. Like, the truth is, I was angry about a lot of things in that moment, but those were people that could potentially help me. So I just told them what was. And I said, hey, I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And that established the relationship that we have today. So come Monday, I'm actually going to be presenting. I have worked my tail off to come up with some very practical, small changes to legislation. And I learned how to formulate that in the words that they understand. And I get to go present that in front of them and kind of like cheer and ha and say, hey, my kids are good. And I don't want anybody to walk through what we walk through. I want the future of children, or well, okay, minor children, of people on the waiver to have a better experience. And that's it. Thank you so much. I know, how incredible would it be if we had all our Collier families, or Lee, those people do Collier, parts of Lee, Hendry, and Glades, but they could be able to come to our meeting and give 2 minutes, because that 2 minutes I took last year is what led to where we're at today. And it is a relationship you want to maintain. So last year when I came in December, legislative session was about to start. And Representative Mello was the one who said, hey, you know what? I want to help you. I want to help. I believe in what you're doing. We're so close to this. And the first thing we need to do is help your family. Before you're going to go save the world, Stephanie, you're still not on the way. You're not getting services with your kid. And Mello's office and Pasadomo's office, and I just found out that Representative Benita Botana, they all called on behalf of my family and helped move some wheels. So that relationship was really good. And real quick, I did meet with Representative Botana this week. I've now covered all of my bases. I've had all my appointments. But I learned a lot about how much they don't know, even though I have been informing and talking to these people all that, that there was a lot of educating that needed to happen. And if I would have taken my emotions, I may have been offended at a few things. But what I really appreciated about that representative is he was like, okay, I hear what you're saying about your thing that you want to do. I have a couple questions for you. And he asked me very openly, honestly. He didn't know the answer. He was looking. So I already kind of got that buy-in, as maybe I'm someone who you can talk to. And it was 5, maybe 8 minutes at best. It was not a long conversation. And that was it. Thank you so much. See you later. See you at the legislative meeting.
Stephanie, I just looked at the attachment for the Social Services Estimating Conference that Alan just shared in the chat page. And that's a perfect example. You brought a human story, and there is a very well-developed, very specific explanation of a complex issue on a one-pager that if you would have tried to explain it, it could have taken a month and it would have been a disaster. Instead, you brought the reality, but there's some really good technical stuff, and that's how we can be very successful.
Yep.
But I know
we are over time, and
are.
I want to give anybody an opportunity to share, talk, thoughts, feelings, questions.
Fire away.
Yeah.
Open mic.
I'm just going to sit here and we'll wait till one of you do it.
My name is Angie Ward, and I was invited by Melissa. I am a provider in a large portion of Florida. Our agency is called the Ward Living Solutions. And we are all about supporting the best service possible to the community of which we serve and supporting all of our waiver support coordinator because every client absolutely deserves that one-on-one advocacy. And managed care is not the way to go. Me and my business partner, Jess, we have been in contact with Melissa, and I believe the 19th through the 22nd, I have appointments to meet with some of the legislators. I went to the web portal in Washington, D.C. To see who is representing Florida and who has some type of interest in the med waiver program. At this point, I have 4 appointments and I'm hoping to get 2 more. They have local offices in Florida. I think it's great to deal with the local legislation, but I think that all the voices, I'm sure it's already in process, but we need to hit the federal level. And the federal level is going to be the blockers to say, wait a second, let's listen to the state of Florida. Because if the managed care goes after the federal contracts with waiver, we need federal level legislation to say, wait a second, especially in the Health and Human Service Department, because that's where I'm kind of like narrowing in on. I used to work a long time ago in New York State for a Native American tribe. And it was a big fight with Health and Human Services, obviously, and to get the communities within the tribes and territories to receive services and to keep their services on their lands within their communities. So a lot of the folks that I used to speak to at the Health and Human Services level in DC, they've since retired. So I'm trying to reconnect who took over for them. But in the meantime, my greatest efforts are to meet these people that have offices in Florida and when they're going to be in DC. So we're going to try to hit them in Florida that week. And if we can't get them all in Florida, we're going to DC.
Well, we invite you
Yeah,
all to
Angie,
reach out
thank you.
reach
Thank you,
out
thank you.
to all your support coordinators and offer them to link onto the page so we can get the faces to continue to be maximized. I'd love you to show up in Washington with, here's 100 Floridians, here's and
Well,
start
listen,
showing them stuff.
yes, that's where we have to go. Now, I am a service provider. I'm
Yep.
not a
Okay.
waiver support. We
Good.
provide the service to folks.
That
So
which
I have
means you are linked to folks that you can introduce this to. Because
absolutely.
that's what we
Yep.
ask you to do, is reach out your hand to your circle and get folks involved. If you've got support coordination, that's a big connection. That's, that's 15, 20, 30 people at a time per person. That's
A
great.
lot of the forms came in through a provider who had her family sit down and write it out and just,
Awesome.
real quick. And that would be incredible because,
Yes.
we're so busy, us parents and families,
absolutely. Yes, I
one more
serve
thing is one more thing. So that would be, and like, my God, the federal level, that's incredible. I want to keep families at this moment fixed it, or like, we got to get our appointments locally first, order of operations here. But yeah, that's where this is gonna go. Like, and
Well,
if
I
we
would
all
like,
do it,
yes.
we're gonna do it.
Yes. So what my whole focus is there's a lot of support right now on the local level with families. And we serve over 150 clients in the state of Florida. I have offices and services in several areas. And there's several families or several support coordination agencies we work with. I work with lots of providers of service like myself. We all work together to help our common goals. So while all the dynamics is happening with all of the teams like you guys, I want to open up the can of worms on the federal level so that it's not going to be just they're going to know what's going on when it finally hits the door.
Mhm.
They're going to
Yeah.
have some background information. I want to speak on behalf of the clients in the state of Florida and what is important to them and what it's going to mean to them in the future and what it's going to mean to the elder family members of disabled folks. They're going to have reassurance that we're all fighting for them. And that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm ready to take an RV and just park myself in DC and do my thing and hope I don't get arrested. No, I'm just kidding.
Girls
Just
trip.
remember
I like
that
it.
Medicaid is a state administered program with federal
It is
responsibilities and
federal
guidelines.
responsibilities.
So we've got
Yes.
and part of it is being in compliance with the intents and purposes that have been hard fought, and it's hopeful that coming in every single direction. But again, what I ask you to do is reach across, reach out, spread the word, get the families to be able to become the faces, to become the voices, because then you've got people that'll haunt them.
Auntie, are you getting the emails from either me or Melissa?
Absolutely. I get
Okay,
everything
all
from
right.
Melissa.
Okay,
I
good.
forward them on to the families that are supporting their loved ones.
Okay.
Some of the folks that don't have the natural supports, their supportive living coaches are getting them so
Okay.
that they can educate them if they want to participate in this movement and advocate for themselves as well. So I know we're running out of time, but we're doing the best we can. And I hope that soon we'll send an abundance amount of those letters to you as well.
Yeah, we're actually right on time. Nobody set their platforms yet. So the fact that there's buzz from families before the major advocacy agencies are doing their thing, that's cool. That's cool. So I would really like to hear from somebody who didn't fill out, called, didn't call. I want to hear something about what we're supposed to be doing, because it's just something, people. Yeah. Hi, Sylvia.
Hi. I'll get with you. I just sent you a message on the group chat, and I do need to fill that form out, but I just get with you on Facebook, and I like what the examples you showed us. That's what I need, just to get ideas.
Yeah.
So when I go and meet, I can sell myself to what my purpose is there. I need to make it short, just to make it in easy examples. So I like what you showed us on Facebook, because that's what I need. The more examples, the better.
As
And,
I edit
like what
them,
Andy said.
I'll be pumping them out on Facebook,
That's
so that
wonderful.
families can, and it's also another way for us to connect. I feel like I just met 100 incredible cousins and aunts and uncles, and it's so beautiful to see I'm not alone. My story is a hard one, but it is not that, it's not even close to the only one. And then to see these, older parents talk about how wonderful it is, it gives me hope to see Tom in Canada right now, living his best life. But what he didn't say is he was us for 6, a long time, worked his way. He deserves every minute of that beautiful lake. And I want that one day. My goal is not to just be okay to die. I want to live too. I want them to live. And that's it. Like that's the stories we gotta share with each other too. And of course, Melissa threw my number out to, I think, everyone in the state of Florida. So if you get her emails, I prefer a text at this point. But if you have questions and you need to circle it in, or you're nervous or whatever, that's kind of what I would like to lend myself out. And there are other families that, Kim over here is gangsta at government relations. And I want us to operate as a team. And then, the other one thing I really would like to develop, and I don't know, I literally was like, okay, Melissa, I'll talk to parents, and it turned into something cool. But I'd really like counties to counties for those families to kind of meet with each other, because that way, maybe, in Collier, we kind of, our community is kind of small. So we're all like, hey, you come into this meeting, right? But it gives us a chance to kind of bounce off each other in our own areas. And we know the schools and the teachers and all the things that in your own area. So one of the things that I'd like, to do with those forums, it does say the county at the top. You see someone in your county, reach out, say, hey, mom, I'm somewhere right by you. I don't want to call my legislator. I don't want to do this, or I can't wait to do this, or talk to each other. Use families as, supports. Kimberly Boubier, you are never quiet. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have been in contact with Senator Passidomo's office and spoken to her aide, and I'm planning on coming for the next, when they reschedule. And
Can you come on Monday?
yes, I'm planning on that. I have some highlights that I've written down that I'm going to discuss, some bullet points, I should say, and just to give them my story, my background, and my frustrations, and the things that I hear that are good too. It's not just going to be, my woes. Hopefully, that's my intent, and I really am happy with what's going on with this group, and I applaud you, Stephanie, especially because you have so much on your plate. Tom, I love your experience, and I thank you for what you're bringing to the table, because you've got the wisdom and the knowledge that a lot of us don't have, that are just getting started. My daughter just turned 18.
Flush
Stephanie,
that toilet, wash your hands.
I can't believe how much time you're putting into this. It's an incredible amount of work. I know what it's like. And so I just really,
You guys, everybody matters. This is about this.
absolutely.
If we haven't learned anything from our kids, is that they matter, and you all matter as people, as families. And so, a perfect example beyond your story, which is so important because that's how you got in the door, handing them this thing that Alan just published. That is like one of the cornerstone issues of a program that is intended to help, but is underfunded and has forced them into a compromise that is not healthy for anybody, including people that work there. So understanding this flyer is a lot of really complex, high governmental stuff that I don't really want to get down into the weeds about. But I sure want you not to pretend that I'm just some whiny mom that needs a moment of sympathy. I want you to understand I'm an intelligent, capable mom that has showed up here with a solution, and that I know people, and that I am going to be your resource. And you go, I got this question. Can you help me out? You've hit a home run, because you show up with this kind of stuff. They go fact find it. They find out about it and go, damn, these people know what they're talking about. And that's what makes this so important. I thank you so much for your kind words, and especially for Stephanie, because I just don't know how this girl's doing it.
I don't either. By the grace of God.
We don't ask those questions. Okay. We are gonna wrap up because we're like a half hour over. But since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, I think we got like 7 squares. Is there anything on next week's meeting? Like, is there anything you guys would like to do so that we can talk about it next week? Anything that I was thinking, and I'll let you guys spit, but I was thinking, hey, what if we practiced with each other? What if we did a little role play? And that way we would get more comfortable with even just what we want to say. And I can sure do it wrong because I've done it a million times. And we could just kind of play off of each other. What do you think about that?
Love
It's a
it.
great idea.
Okay.
And
All
I
right.
also
Great
would
idea.
like to have, like Alan, for instance,
Yeah,
translate this flyer into our
Parent.
language.
Yeah, that would be
In a
cool.
way that we can do it, because we got to have that bridge. We're going to need this kind of level of complex detail to be able to have the validity that we need in the long term. I don't want to just say I feel your pain. I want them to go, oh, I see you helping me fix it. Any last thoughts?
More of those letters that you shared, Stephanie, because those
Yeah.
are great examples that they really helped me generate some ideas
Yes.
of my own for what I'm going to put in my letter. So the more of those you keep pushing out through the Facebook page, I think the better. It'll be so much easier for everybody else to start formulating their letters. It's going to be a domino effect.
And I like, Stephanie, how you explained how you saw this, and I really appreciated how you didn't make everybody have the same content, the same style. You said, I'm going to honor the way you choose to share and make it look impactful. That is so nice, instead of one size fits all and here's a little. I mean, I didn't have the imagination that you have, nor the skills that you have, but I think that this is going to significantly impact people. Rome wasn't built overnight. this waiver didn't get to where it's at overnight. We're not gonna get everything, but we can sure turn the tide and create the momentum. And I thank you all for taking your time on a Friday. We'll see you next Friday.
Yep, and see you on Facebook. Share the forms. So that's one thing I send them to you after you submit them, and I give you all the links to all of the things so that you can share it with other people. Because although it's been great for 2 weeks, we want to build it, and there's 55,000 plus, lots plus out there. One of the things, if you know people who are on the wait list, I was shocked that we didn't have any of that, or we had a little bit of that, but that's a big number, and that's a big voice, and that's a big deficit. So share it with your people, and bye guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Nobody talked about what a rock star you are. You are a rock star. All right, I'll call you later. Bye.